Hello, welcome back to the Breachmert podcast. Got myself, Brian, and Scott here today to discuss kind of our second impressions, I guess, on the 4E beta that we've been testing out. We got some games to talk about, and then some kind of general comments on the whole process. So, yeah. What do we want to start out with, guys?
Well, we can start out with the game me and you played today, James.
Sure.
So earlier today, me and James got a game in. I played Castor Awakened. James played Nekoma. The second one is the Brood Queen?
Yeah, Brood Mother.
Brood Mother, yes. It was a really good game. It was the first time I played Castor Awakened. So I've been jumping all over the place with the Masters I've been playing. Really only played Titania more than one game when you consider obviously both versions of the Master as two different Masters. So just been trying to get a kind of a feel of the different Masters and stuff like that. So this is my first time with Castor Awakened. Had already played Fervent, and honestly, I would say that I really enjoyed this version more so than Fervent. Fervent still's kind of got that beatdown mode. I think he, again, first impressions, he seems more obviously going to rely a little bit more maybe on the kidnap than he did in third edition, just for the fact that if he's up there real far, he can still die with less healing in this version than in third edition. But I've been seeing a trend a lot with the games I've been playing. So this was like, I don't know, the fourth or fifth game I've had where I've scored all my scheme points by turn 3. The crew upgrade that Castor Awaken has, where you can do interacts with his crew card, and let me kind of touch on it. His crew card, he can have two versions of it. You have basically, trying to find it here amongst my pile of cards. You have a weakened and a strengthened one. Okay, yes. So you have weakened resolve, which basically allows you to do interacts at a +2 range if you gain a hunger token. Hunger token you can also do is you can pass the damage off. So when you have a hunger token and you end your activation, you either have to give damage to a friendly model within an inch of you, or the model who takes it has to do it. And on Awakened version, you can actually give that to an enemy model. So I do enjoy that quite a bit. Allows you to pass off a little bit of damage. And you can do interact at +2 range in the Weakened Resolve. So the Strengthened Resolve, what you do with that is basically the same thing, except that if you gain a hunger token, you can do interacts at +4 range. So you could throw out, in this case, I did a lot of interacts to drop ski markers because we were doing the strategy where you just have to stand in a spot. And the way you flip it is in Weakened Resolve, if at any time when a model activates, you can see 3 of your ski markers, you flip it to Strengthen Resolve. And then Strengthen Resolve, the enemy can make you do something. So if they take it, eliminate one of your ski markers, and you have 2 or fewer ski markers on the board, you have to spend a soul stone or you go back to Weakened Resolve. So this is really strong, being able to do interacts basically 5 inches away. Obviously, all the rules still apply to it. But if we're doing like the strategy where you have to move your markers to the other side of the board, being able to do that from 5 inches away would be super strong. So I think that definitely contributed to me getting all my scheme points by the end of turn 3. And they're already kind of a bit of a schemy crew. The Blood Vessels, being able to jump around and then interact on a signature action, as long as you can gain a hunger token, is really good. So that was my impression of the crew. I did like it. We did make a mistake in the game. I accidentally obeyed Nekoma, which you can't do. But other than that, I don't think it was very impactful because she didn't attack anything. I just kind of moved her out of the way. And then Lilu moved her pretty much back to where she was. So it really didn't impact the game too much. So I was glad of that. James, you want to tell us about what you played and your impressions on it?
Yeah, so I played Brood Mother, Nekoma Broodmother. It's my second game with her. So the one pretty substantial change that happened since my last game with her was that Blackblood, it was already once per activation, but now it's a defense 12 duel instead of just straight taking damage. That was a very impactful change on our game. I was able to trigger Blackblood a lot of times, and I think Scott only really had to cheat once or twice, so that was dramatically worse, and the Nephilim crew doesn't really have any kind of defensive tech to speak of. None of them have regen anymore. They have a potential of gaining 1 health at the end of any given activation, but other than that, its Blackblood Shaman has an ability, and Nikima has a Soulstone ability. That made it a lot harder to chew through the returned. But other than that, this game I noticed a lot more that you can only use the Strong Survive to smack people and level up your guys on the enemy table half. I'm not really sure why that's the case, I guess just to make it a little harder, but it took a while to get a mature onto the table, and Nikima wasn't really involved in it at all, so that was kind of annoying. I mean, other than that, I think the twins kind of did their job. Leilu tanked for a little while. Litu drew me some cards, which was nice because the totem, Crumb is his name now, is not able to draw actual cards. He just draws Empower cards, which are still useful, but I didn't have a lot of Severes throughout the game, so it's a trade-off, I guess. I think the rest of the crew is pretty good. Being able to use your glutted tokens to do a Don't Mind Me interact can be very useful, but wasn't as impactful in this game since we were doing our Stand By the Strategy Markers strategy.
Yeah, I have to say that change to Black Blood was super impactful in the game. I think that if it wasn't for that, you would have chewed me up and spit me out, especially with Nekima doing 2 damage on Black Blood. Yeah, because I mean, I only cheated a couple times because I was making quite a few flips. I did take some damage, but it was not nearly as impactful as it would have been if it wasn't for that defense tool. And I had played a game with Nekima 1 earlier when they had the new defense tool added in, and I may have done like 1 or 2 damage during the whole entire game. That game was against Brian, and we had talked about it afterward because I was pretty salty about it. And I have to say, after playing against you, James, I'm a little less salty about it. So my thoughts on it are, I think it needs to be changed. And fortunately with crew cards, it gives you a lot of room to do things with. So, I mean, what I'm going to suggest, or some sort of, middle ground between what you guys, I'm sure, will add in and what I have to say about it. There's plenty of room on a crew card to do this, whereas on a model card, you may not have that kind of room. But I think that when you hit a model with Black Blood, you would get Black Blooded on, that you don't get the defense tool. You just take that damage.
You could just do it in damage by an enemy model or damage by a friendly to be the difference in wording. Yes. So friendly models, you do a test. Enemy models, you just pulse out 1 damage.
Yep, exactly. I think if they don't want to do that and they keep it a defense tool, I think that Black Blood needs to be changed so it's not once an activation. Because that is kind of an integral part of the crew, especially with Nekima 1, because it's super hard not super hard, but it is much harder to grow Nephilim into the next stage up, whether you're going from Terrible Tot to a young or a young to a mature, because they actually have to hit something, and that means they have to get across the board, and if you're going into guns, that makes it that much more harder. So I think they need to do something on that. I guess, like I said, I'm not quite as down on it as I was, because I saw how much it was saving my ass by making those checks against you, because you kept doing blood pustule on Nekima, and with that version, you're taking 2 damage from it. So I think something like that needs to be looked at to make it so that it is a little bit more impactful in the game.
I'd say I've played against both these crews a fair amount now. I'll get back to Return, but right now we're on the Brood case. I did notice in the beta that Brood is also a little slower and needs a lot of than they were originally. And they feel slower than they were in 3rd edition. They're not super hyper mobile. I noticed a lot of high TNs. Like, I wasn't going against it, I wasn't playing it, but I noticed, it's pretty up there. I complain about needing a 7 for a bonus movement TN, but I think as of this recording, we're doing the 529 version of all the cards, and they need an 8, I think, for the young to get their Fly With Me off.
Correct.
And that's pretty high. I mean, they are a 6-stone model. The one thing I remember is they're a pretty cheap model overall compared to like Lilu, Lilitu, Hayridden. So,
well, the Lilu and Lilitu don't have Fly With Me because they don't have wings.
Yeah, I just meant in cost of like where things are and the crew. I really like the overall still the feel of the crew, but I do think they lost some of that alpha threat, that feeling that I need to play into. Because 3rd edition, I know they were going to be in my face, and I know I'm just going to initially kind of play a little defensively and then come back from there.
Yeah. They did lower. I'm not sure exactly what rewrite they did lower, because they did have some of the models had move 7 or speed 7, and they brought them all down to 6. So I think moving those models back up to speed 7 would definitely be helpful. And now the young, I don't believe were speed 7. I think it was mainly Nekoma and some of the other models. But yeah, I think now they're basically, yes, I understand they have Fly With Me, but Nekoma, but the whole thing is that the Brood are supposed to be fast. In past editions, they're always a really fast crew, and now, especially with the young, if you're not hitting that Fly With Me, they're just basically the same speed as a human. And even though they do have flight, with the whole end a walk next to a building and then you get to go up it, flight, while still impactful, is less so than it was in previous editions.
I mean, there's also, on that note, there's a lot of models in that same 6 soulstone category, or even 5, that have expert climber, which honestly, do you need to be able to fly both times? I've been able to figure out with expert climber, you just plan it out when you need to, ignore terrain and when you don't for which walk or whatever charge, and it's been almost just as good as flight. Like, and they don't need to have an 8 for Fly With Me. A lot of those models like Kabuki Warriors and things need a 6 for Onward, and they can still scale at the end of it because it's a walk action.
Yep. And then now I think one of the reasons why they have Fly With Me, especially on the young at such a high TN, is that if you get a raise, you can bring a model with you. But correct me if I'm wrong, there is not a size restriction on that. So in theory, a young with Fly With Me could carry Nekoma or Mature. So I understand why they're doing that, but just put the size restriction on there. It has to be a model size smaller than you. And then you don't have to worry about a young picking up Nekoma and bringing her along.
I did want to... Go ahead, James.
I definitely thought there was a size restriction, or I would have used that more.
I mean, it takes a 13 with the young, but for Nekoma Brood Queen, I think she's a 5 TN, so it's a 10. She would need to take someone with her.
But if you get to bring Nekima, then that's almost worth a 13. I mean,
saving an AP for a swing.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely sometimes worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it'd be worth it more for Nekoma 1, bringing her along. But even then, that's a 13. But I digress on that. So yeah, maybe put that size restriction back in, and then you could feel a little bit more comfortable lowering that target number. And you could even keep it, you still need a raise to bring a model. But, putting it down, because it was a 7 and they moved it to an 8. So I think it'd be fairly safe to bring it down to a 6 and then just add the size restriction. So they can bring Terratots and Hounds. And that's it.
Yeah.
Switching it back to Black Blood again. I was actually, when I first seen that it's now a defensive duel, my gut reaction is, why bring back another test, another flip, another decision point into the game. I know it's highly contested about how, streamlining things and, how far is too far. But, I mean, I never really thought of it much in the game I played against them recently with this defense duel because I passed all but one pretty easily. But even then, it's still taking time to flip cards off the top, and that one time it did, it's, okay, this is the one time it's going to matter. Do I need to cheat? Now I got to stop and think, do I need to save this one card or do I not? And if you have to do that over and over and over again, we're getting back into adding a lot of flips. And I guess it's just a concern. I'm actually getting... There's enough analysis paralysis with people I play that games can take too long. Against some of the people I play against, where we have to agonize over a Nekoma activation that didn't matter. But, sorry, Scott.
Hey, I'm moving my cruise.
I know. There's a lot now. I mean, we're not doing tournament play or anything like that. When we play in that kind of mode, games are going fast, and I'm concerned that it just brings back some of the some decision points that, honestly, one damage is kind of mid or negligible for most of things now. I don't know. I just would like to just throw that out there. I don't know if it's going to be too impactful, but...
Yeah, and I could see it maybe as also thinking of, all these tests could be a hand attack, but there are no other hand attacks in a Nekoma crew. So that's, kind of can go out the thing. And I understand it's a beta. They're trying different things, You kind of like throwing the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. I agree. It's you're adding another flip, and we can get back to the other thing that got changed about adding flips and my extreme thoughts on this.
Oh, are we on Cruel Teachings or Black Blood Pustule? Taking the damage to get... Oh, okay.
We're talking about Terrifying.
Oh, we'll get to Terrifying. We're going to save the spiciness to the end, and we're hoping that gets changed before this even makes it to the air.
Yeah, I mean, it could, because like right now, we're recording on Thursday, and Justin hasn't gotten the new stuff down yet, so... the files are all gone, so maybe it might pop up in the middle of this recording.
So we'll save Terrifying to the end, because that has been very hot on the forums right now.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to go back to Awakened, because I've got a fair number of games into Awakened now. Well, not just Awakened, but also just Returned as a whole, so Fervent as well. I know you mentioned he doesn't have any healing, but Fervent's signature at a 50 mil base and a 4-inch pulse. I know it's a 13 defense duel, but if you got 3 models in there and every time someone takes a damage, he heals, it's not super efficient sometimes, but it's impactful.
Awakened, obviously, he has when Marathon punches something, he heals a little bit. I did feel a little bit of because I did not take Will, because when I took Will with Fervent, made the mistake is you can't do the card shenanigans with Gwill unless one or both the masters have a hunger token. So I did not take Gwill this time. So the only card draw I had was if Marathon picks up a ski marker, and that happened once in our game. So that is one thing with Awaken, is you have absolutely no card draw other than picking up ski markers with your totem.
But I will agree with you. You mentioned it early on. I do think that Returned is actually an extremely interact-focused crew more than a killy crew. Yes, you can do some damage.
You mean Awakened?
Both sides of it. Even Fervent. Yeah. You might have Fervent himself that you said you can kidnap. I don't even think that's what he really needs to do. I actually, with currently the ability to reduce damage if you have a hunger token or whatever that is, I think he tanks and disrupts while the rest of the crew sits there and just schemes right around you. Both versions. It's easier with one than the other, but they're still both highly mobile. With being able to Cavern Nephilim, that ambush is ridiculous. Being able to sidekick up at 8-inch range and then get your hunger. So running in pairs. I used to see it a lot with Lucius. And you take your doppelganger and your little ugly kid, and they run up the board together, and they can scheme away. Well, it's the same thing with this Blood Vessel and a Cavern Nephilim. They can control a side of the board and have so much free range to scheme right around your opponent. I think playing them the New Zealand way, where I'm just going to do my game and make you come and deal with it, is and mainly scheming is what I mean by New Zealand. They're very good at working the actual points and not actually having to go for a kill.
Yeah, I am a little surprised that Ambushed hasn't gotten changed yet. That it's still speed +2.
Or at least can't
nice.
do it out of engagement, because I think that's where I always draw a line. It's like, it's ambush. Fluffy wise, how are you ambushing if you're already next to somebody? It's not an ambush.
Because they channel their inner John Cena and say, you can't see me. That's why they have stealth.
But no, actually, I think Awakened are in a pretty good spot. Overall, most crews are sitting pretty good, and I've been really enjoying the beta. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that I do think they were a tricksy, black, bloody, and sort of killy crew. More in 3E, I felt that they had more control and kill. This time, I think Awakened is very much a control and scheme.
And, they can still... he's not quite as much damage as Fervent, but he's still damage 3 on his scratch. Stat 7 against speed. So he can pump out... He's the one who killed Lilu today when I was playing against James, because I had Lilu down to like half, and then he punched something and healed like 4 damage or something like that, so he's back up to full. So it's like, okay, Awaken's like, here guys, hold my beer to show you how it's done.
With skill 7 for his attack... Oh, that's Awakened. Sorry, I want to get to Fervent real quick, because I want to throw him in the boat that he's a beater master, but I just wanted to confirm as we were talking. So Fervent, that's Awakened. Marathi. As the last I know, he's 3. He's got that extra pulse of damage. Visceral Rampage isn't bad. He is on the edge of being what I would consider a pure beater master, but he has a little bit more control.
Yeah, and even on his kidnap, you may not have to do this kidnap, because Urn Bearers have lure. You have, assuming you take Barbros, which I think would be a mistake if you didn't take him, but he's got a lure. So you've got a potential 3 models on the board with lures, and Barbros is at skill 7. So you may not even need to pull a model in or have Castor pull a model in. You might be able to have the Urn Bearers and or Barbros do it, and then he can just punch the shit out of something, and or even pull it further in and then throw it in an Urn Bearer Hazardous aura that they have. So yeah, I think he's not an elite beater. He's not Nekima 1, but who is? Or
it's not Nekima 1. It's Nekima Brood Queen.
Okay, well, I have a hard time remembering some of the titles.
Well, now's when you got to start focusing. They have titles. They're not 1 and 2. It's what they are now.
Okay, Dad.
You're the old man. I'm that's why you're resistant to change, old man.
That's right.
You are.
But yeah. So especially since Awaken was definitely the lesser of 2 evils in 3rd edition. So I'm glad to see that. I was just looking at his card and stuff like that. He looked pretty good, but putting him on the board is actually where the test is, and I was pretty pleased. I think the strategy wasn't his cup of tea, standing in a place and trying to kill stuff. I think more, obviously, with being able to do interacts from 5 inches away is going to be what he does best. But I was pretty happy with my results.
As far as games I can actually talk about and crews I've been playing, I have done a fair amount of Key and Gong again recently. I've been doing back and forth between Thunders and Guild, but and playing into a lot of Apex and a lot of Neverborn over.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I have 2 people on a podcast that play Neverborn. But I'll say Key and Gong has been in an interesting spot. They're definitely... I don't consider them beady, but they are very control and very mobile. I was playing Yoko Unseen, and honestly, she can scalpel, thanks to a little bit with that Irreducible to get around some defense tech if you're not near anything. And she's got something similar to Nekima 1's. You do an action, you get to place and still take an attack. Highly mobile, I think, with all the out of activation movement you can kind of get in their own movement that's in the crew, they are scheme machines. That, and I think they have some of the best card draw that maybe needs to look at, because they already have 3 significant totems, and those significant totems, if you get lucky, give you 6 cards in a turn overall, because they each just draw you one naturally. Which and you can abuse their signature if you have a 5 or like a 6 of tomes in your hand, and just try it 3 times to flip a high card, because the way the duel works officially, I think currently, is as soon as you cheat, the card that was in the duel goes to the discard. So you cheat it in, and then immediately declare the trigger with that tome, and you can get that 13 you flipped, or that red joker you flipped, into your hand. So it's something to keep an eye out, that I think it's a little much being able to get that extra card off of them. But yeah, I've been able to out-scheme and counter-scheme and work the strats while trying to survive. Bill is semi-tanky if you get really lucky on flips, but just like anybody else, I mean, models go down. This, more than anything, their defense deck is just getting stuff done or killing your opponent before you die, because any model can die pretty quick in this edition.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to touch on my favorite subject, Terrifying?
No, we'll get there. We'll save that to the end. We got a half an hour to go. We'll save 15 minutes at least. I'm frantically hitting refresh every 2 minutes to see if it comes up.
So, we'll talk about something I wanted to touch on. So, obviously, with less flipping, and obviously no damage flips being the biggest one that was talked about from 3rd to 4th edition. So, red and black jokers. How do you guys feel? Do you feel that they're less impactful, more impactful, about the same? So I'll let you guys discuss it, and then I'll throw in my 2 cents. So, Brian, do you have an opinion?
I was going to let James go first, but I do have an opinion. So I was actually thinking about this since we brought it up earlier today before we were doing it. And I do think they are still highly impactful when they happen. Usually, most of the time. It sucks that when you flip the red joker and it's on a, my onward test, but that always sucks. But when they happen in attack or defense duels, they are still that big moment, because it's, I flipped black joker. Unless it's a magic attack, that's like I'm like probably dead, because my opponent has any high card left. Now they're getting a couple of raises, and that's spiking damage against me. I can't cheat anything. Red joker, I love cheating in the red joker for an attack flip, because you're guaranteed 1 raise already, and you're getting that suit. I think the red joker is probably more impactful than the black when it comes to attack and defense. I think even more so now that you don't have the additional resource that you needed to spike. Better on the flip usually than cheating, but it's usually at least a +2 to damage for melee or missile attacks, minimum. Plus whatever else comes its way. So I like where they're sitting. It's that still Malifaux. Things happen. I know just in the other game I was playing, and I have a 13 in hand. I can make my guy live, and I flip a black joker on the defense, and I'm like, well, yep, he's dead. Can't do anything about it when you flip the black. So I still think it, as Scott goes, gives you those moments of something to talk about. I still think they're there. I don't think they change too much in terms of impact. Maybe a little swingier, because they don't happen all as much. But I mean, most turns I'm getting through my deck probably most of the time. I'd say at least 80% of turns, even turn 1, I am getting to close to the end of my deck, if not just getting that reflip and getting in just a little bit. Maybe not turn 4, because everything's dead. All right, I've rambled enough. James, what do you think on the jokers?
Yeah, so I think in duels, they're pretty much the same. Our joker giving a raise is almost the same as being able to do +1 damage. I mean, it is basically +1 damage in most situations. I think because there's a lot less card draw in general, I've had a lot less control over where the jokers are. I don't think I have ever had the black joker in my hand. I've only played maybe a dozen games, but I've not had jokers in hand very much. especially crews where you're getting empower cards from the discard instead of drawing cards. You're not really drawing more than 1 or 2 cards a turn. So I haven't been able to cheat or hold on to jokers at all. But I think the overall effect of the jokers is still pretty good. I mean, today I flipped the red and the black against Scott, which that's the worst of every world, but, you know.
Yeah, I thought I was dead when I saw the red, and then the black came up, and I'm like, whoo, I live. But, okay. So my opinion on it, was looking, the files just came up for the newest update, so.
We're trying to get them, but they're having issues because I just came up.
All right, so I think that they are just as impactful as last edition, with one caveat, and I guess my experience is differing much from Brian's. So my game I played today with James was the first game I've had in a turn where I went through my whole deck. So I would say they're less impactful in the fact that I'm seeing them less, just because I'm not going through my decks. I'm not drawing as many cards and stuff like that. So I would say less impactful, just for the fact that I feel I'm not seeing them as much as I have in previous editions. But when they are there, I think they're just as impactful, as they were in previous editions. And again, you're hitting them sometimes that red, and like Brian said, you're going for an onward. It's like, cool, I got my onward, and it sucks even more because there's no triggers on it. Or you're hitting it, on a defense flip or an attack flip or something like that, and then that's when it's truly impactful. But yes, this is my thing. I just think they're a little less impactful. This is the fact I'm seeing them less.
Yeah, same here.
I guess I play a lot of crews that have a lot of extra flips in them too. Like King Gong has a lot of extra flips. Like I said, I'm trying my signature just 3 times and flipping cards, and a lot of gather intels and pushing out and then pulsing duels. Or there's a lot of extra AP signatures that are doing multiple. Charm Order still making you flip like 6 cards in a turn. So I guess maybe that's why I'm seeing a difference, is just the crews I've been playing have more card turnover.
Well, surprise, surprise, I went through my whole deck when I was taking a bunch of defense tools from Black Blood that turn. So that probably had a lot to do with the fact that I went through my whole deck.
Yeah.
Because since we all had to stand in a spot, and then Black Blood Pustule's a thing, so yeah, lots of defense tools. So that was the only reason I went through my deck. So I think I only used like 4 more cards after I flipped it. So that's kind of my thoughts on the red and black Joker.
You're just not attacking enough.
Well, I'm sorry. I need to get scheme markers down because I wasn't scoring strategy today. I scored 1 point on the stupid strategy.
While we wait for the actual files to get uploaded, the placeholders are there, but they don't have the files all up quite yet. They're not located yet. Before we dive into Terrify, I do know Guard will be out by the time that this happens. And I have been getting a fair number of games in with them. I'm waiting to see what this new update has for them. But I will say I was missing some of the flavor with Guard. They, at least until now, until coming out here into the wide open, they were pretty confused. And they had a lot going on. And I'm really hoping that as soon as we see these files, that they're kind of focused. They still have, I could talk about the Nightcrawler Network. That's been out in Journalist for a while. And that thing is still, can be OP broken. Being able to interact and now drop scheme markers the way Interact's written at, 9.5 inches away. Interact with things at a distance is always great. Plus he has a base 3 melee attack, which seems a little much for a model that also can stay away safe and interacts at range and has great support abilities. He seems like he's a bit overtuned, and that's been in Journalists for a bit now. But I know I still can't wait to see Monk. I'm rambling, but Guard was one of the ones I really wanted to see. It looks like we're getting Chimera, Seeker, Savage, Guard, EVS, and Revenant this week. That all just popped up on the thing. Hopefully they'll come in and we get to talk about them. Until then, Scott, start your rant.
Okay. So anyone who's listened to us talk may have heard a rumor or slight snippets that Nightmare is my favorite crew. And this last 529 drop, as we breathlessly are waiting for the files to show up for the 6.5 drop, they made a change to Terrifying. To put it gently, and this is gently, the change was ass. For those of you who may or may not have seen it, so in the previous editions of Terrifying, they've had Terrifying where if your willpower wasn't higher than the Terrifying, you were at -1 to your stat. And then they had it, if your willpower wasn't higher than the stat for the Terrifying, you couldn't do triggers. And then they changed it to if you are within one, basically if you're engaged by the Terrifying model when you activate, you had to take a willpower duel. If you failed the willpower duel, you were pushed away and you couldn't take the charge action. So several reasons why, in my opinion, this is ass. One, it only affects models that are engaged. And with all the movement shenanigans, this can be avoided quite a bit. Doesn't affect models that are maybe going to be standing off and shooting, stuff like that. So no effect on them. Now also too, if let's say you've moved your Terrifying model up because he's the only one who can do it to an engaged, let's say someone who has a damage 3 gun. Now the guy with a damage 3 gun goes, oh, Terrifying, oh darn, I failed, or I cheat to fail. Now I can push away and shoot you in your ugly face. Or let's say that model wants to interact. Well, now I fail the duel, or I cheat to fail, I push away, and now I can go and interact. So honestly, if this will be the iteration that we get, which I don't think it will be, because from what I hear, there's been quite a bit of chatter on the forums about this, I would actually rather just see Terrifying go off my cards. I think it's that bad. I understand the not being able to do triggers, probably a little powerful. So maybe we go to, if they want to keep it a duel, if you attack that Terrifying model, you have a TN, and if you don't pass that TN, you don't get triggers. So again, that kind of goes away from the streamlining, less duels and stuff like that. But I think that would be a good middle ground for that version where you don't get triggers. There's other things they could probably do with it. But yeah, for those of you on our Discord last Thursday, probably saw my salt mine being thrown far and wide as I commented upon it in our Discord. So I'll let you throw your 2 cents in there, James.
Oh, sorry, James. I got excited because I actually got the changelog downloaded.
Well, I don't have a ton to say about Terrifying because I haven't played with or against this version of Terrifying.
I will say, I played with a model who had it, and not only did I forget that it was there, which I was glad we forgot it was there, but I agree with a lot of what was being said in terms of it would be a detriment to models that have it. It's no longer defensive tech, it's supporting. Oh, I can't charge. There's 4-inch melees now in the game. Pushing 3 inches away to some of these models does nothing. if not help the opponent. And maybe you push them off a building, but one, I also would like to see just the duels gone, because I do definitely like the streamlined version, and that's just more me. But I think it was crap. And I'm trying to find a model, see if I can get a download, someone who I know who had Terrify, but at least
go into
change
Nightmare. Half the models of Nightmare have Terrifying.
I know, but right now the only one I can get right now to download is the changelog, and I'm not seeing it in the changelog.
I think everyone's on the server at the same time.
So while we're still waiting for this stuff to go, because I was furiously trying to download the guard models to talk about them, because I actually played a shit ton of Dashel. I know I went to Captain Con and soloed, She Who Shall Not Be Named, because everyone was doing it and she was just that good. But I, before that, had been soloing Dashel in a lot of events, and I really liked the crew. I thought it had a lot of interesting things. The pursue mechanic was great. So I'm really excited to start seeing them getting out into the big open and see what's done there. Oh, wait. Is it in here?
Terrifying got changed.
Do you see it somewhere?
Yes, under actions and abilities.
What is it now?
There's a note. Before you say it, Scott, there's a note in there that said, I don't think I need to explain why last week's versions didn't work. This is why I like Weird. They literally understand when they, like, listen, we threw something at the wall, it didn't work.
Yeah. So it's rewritten to give a negative to attack tools which target the model. Okay. I won't read the whole note. There's a long note underneath it. So yes, so much improved. Take away my rants. Scott is a happy camper. So they changed it again.
Oh, I like this because last episode I was bitching about 0-inch melees. They took them all away. Now there's no more 0. It's a 1-inch melee.
That would help with my giant leeches in our game today.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things. It's so hard to get, like, charges and to be accurate going base to base when, with all the terrain now that's on the board and things. Like, just being able to have that little degree of, minute, I don't actually have to base you, goes a long, long way for a lot of things.
Damn, a lot of changes to Witch Hunter again.
I mean, it probably needs it. I've been dropping them a lot, and they're either too strong or not strong enough. And then they're too strong, and then it's been a battle with them.
Oh, talking about our brood, talking about Black Blood. I won't read the whole thing. It's a long note. Developers notes, unrestricted damage is a problem, particularly in a keyword that is already high in damage. So I think they're explaining why the defense duels and stuff like that. So yeah. Which is nice that they're hearing people and there's it's also nice, even if they don't change it, at least they're explaining why they're keeping it that way. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. People could read it themselves. I don't think they want us to hear us read it.
No, but I actually really like the fact that they took some time this week and put in the notes and that they hear the things that are going on, and this is why they're going in certain directions.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
We used to get some of that in closed beta, but it's the first time like these type of directions were given in open stuff.
Which is good too, because I know a lot of people, like, when they made changes in 3rd edition with they would explain the reasons behind it. And, that the more transparency that is possible, the better it is for the community, especially in a beta, because now we know, okay, well, they are hearing us, even though they may not change it or change it in a way we're not predicting. So that's a good thing that they're letting us know, because maybe it can help people with more wrinkly brain than me know maybe where we need to test things more so than with me. I'm just playing whatever I want to play. Anything else? I mean, I'm pretty
speaking of how I said the Kunoichi were too good with all the card draw, now they have to do different things. They just have Arcane Reservoir now. They don't have the card draw.
That's good.
But, I mean, these are a lot of good changes that I think are great overall for the game. But I am really happy I could talk about Guard here for a minute if I can get them to download. Maybe.
Yeah, I saw they added Chimera and Savage.
Yep, the Guard models I got. So, before I start randomly talking, I'm going to see what they put in here. But it said no changes. Because I wanted to talk about excessive violence. This came up in a game I played recently where I literally went into this. And yes, they are still... I want everyone to take a look at them and see what, for yourself, if you think they're a little confused with how many different tokens and things that this crew does. They have entranced, bolstered, suppressed, slow, they summon, give out injured. They do a lot. They use remains tokens for abilities. There's so much random, it spreads out. And I think it needs to be focused. I miss Pursue. Honestly, I loved Pursue. It was a thing where you just watched your activations. You got that +1 to your skill, to things that have activated. I liked that about Guard. I don't know why it switched to honestly, this whole bolstered mechanic, because they were never really defense-minded to begin with. They were similar to Russians, throw bodies at the problem and just keep throwing more bodies. Who cares if your guard patrol dies? I don't think bolstered fits the theme to the guard. They're not some super elite. They're your standard barracks. They're not the hyper elite of Malifaux. They have special elites, divisions higher up probably, like the Death Marshals and things, that are those specialized models. So I don't know why it's based on bolster, but that's just my rant. Getting back to Cracked Skulls, it's a Soulstone Drain ability, once per activation. It did change a little bit. They now gain an injure token. I wonder where they got that from. And may declare this action again, increasing the damage by +2. So it's a trade-off if you go off early, but it makes your base 3 beater or your Emissary of Fate that is now a guard model and can do this, be able to do a min 5 attack after already doing a min 3 attack. So it can be very swingy and deadly.
With let's just say no raises involved. So on 1 AP, you can do 8 damage.
With a min 3, yeah. With damage 3 model. I mean,
okay,
in guard, you have at least the Master, you have Taggart Queeg, you have Executioners. Well, they can't do it because they're not a unique. They have to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to do it. But the Nightcrawler Network is guard, and he's min 3, or base 3. And the Emissary is base 3. So with a 3-inch range.
What do you think of on that they put you can't get raises? I mean, you're already at damage 5.
I mean, I'm going to test this out, but I'm not opposed to the fact that you couldn't get additional raises off of you're getting the +2, because I mean that's a big bump.
I don't know what kind of triggers they have on those attacks, but I don't know if there's crit strike or anything like that. But yeah, I would think
no, there is coordinated strike.
So again,
you can't do that off of an already generated ability.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, something to think about.
I'm still a little sad at the mounted guard in guard. They do have cumbersome, Scott.
Excellent.
But now they're still only speed 6.
So I will say they probably need to go to speed 7 with cumbersome.
And they have Add a Gallop as their signature, which is only a 5-inch move. They're just underwhelming, to be honest. Like, I feel like I'm forced to bring them because they're the only hypermobile thing, because they have a movement action for their signature, but they are less than appetizing for an actual, apples to apples, scheme runner to scheme runner type model.
I'm glad they added cumbersome, because I think all horses should have that. And yeah, make them speed 7.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be, if anyone wants to reach out via our Discord and get some games in, by the way. I have been having lots of free time, and I'd love to play some of these keywords in DL, because I've been getting lots of Malifaux in. So if you want to see these things that I'm talking about for Guard, it's out here in open beta, and I'd love to crack a skull with my Emissary or Taggart Queed's 4-inch range and getting that extra damage in.
Speaking of playing on Vassal, unfortunately I don't know the individual's name, but the person who has been updating Vassal with all the new models and everything like that, just really appreciate it. You're doing the Lord's work out there, and everyone out there in Vassal Land appreciates all the hard work you're putting into it. So just really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, I know, because I have also worked on the Vassal module, and things like changing HP and pictures is very easy, but things like adding schemes that you can pick the next scheme off of is definitely more work, so very much appreciated. I mean, we're getting towards an hour, but Savage did drop. And just real quick, I wanted to say I think that Frozen Solid and Numb are both really cool tokens. Overall, I thought the crew was pretty solid. The models mostly did what they want to do. My only critique really is that the cheapest model is 7 cost, so it makes it pretty awkward to come into the game with a reasonable amount of stones, but that can be managed a little bit with versatiles and stuff. But
always got effigies. Effigy Mysterious FG hands out hasten tokens, which are super good.
But they're not a significant model.
True.
So you got to go
They're
red
not a
caps.
significant model, but they could become one.
Yeah, and I did have a chance to try the red caps, and they're perfectly good 3-stone model. They're very fast. They ignore vertical distance, so they can get somewhere, score a point, and die. And that's pretty much what I expect a 3-stone model to do. So.
Okay, well, let's call it an evening. I'm itching to download some files and look what they have done. So, I'll talk to you guys later, and thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah.